Welcome to the water cooler, where you can get today's news updates in a quick click. The news for people who hate the news, the top topics of discussion, the cliff notes to the conversation, and the buzz of the break room. So huddle up, and I'll catch you up to speed. Today's episode, we will focus our entire attention on the Alex Murdaugh trial. How did a prominent man whose family once commanded an extreme amount of power, both judicial and political, end up accused of murder? Alex Murdaugh is facing more than 100 criminal charges, ranging from tax evasion to the murders of his wife and son, Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. But who is he? For starters, he's part of a family that ran a prosecutor's office in Hampton County for more than 80 years. From 1920 to 2006, 3 members of the family consecutively served as district attorney, in charge of prosecuting all criminal cases in the state's 14th Circuit District, leading locals to call the 5-county district Murdaugh Country. The family also founded a nationally recognized civil litigation law firm in Hampton, South Carolina, that specializes in personal injury litigation. They were described by NPR as one of South Carolina's most prominent legal families and were even featured in the cover story of Carolina Lawyer magazine. So what happened to such a prominent figure and family? And how did they get tangled up in a web of darkness that would include accusations of murder, corruption, and other alleged crimes, including insurance fraud, defrauding clients, theft of insurance payouts, and drug-related charges that would culminate in Alex's disbarment and arrest? Some would say the prominent Democrat's political career started to unravel after his son was involved in a boat crash that snowballed a series of lawsuits which would eventually expose Alex's financial schemes. Let's jump back a few years and take a look at the death of Stephen Smith. On July 8, 2015, Stephen Smith, a high school friend of Alex Murdaugh's oldest son, Buster, who was rumored to be having a secret relationship with the then teenage boy, was found dead from blunt force trauma. The case was ruled a hit and run with no arrests. Shortly after Smith's death, rumors of the Murdaugh's involvement and possible cover-up began swirling around the county. In June 2021, they reopened the case. No charges or indictments have been made as of yet. And what about Gloria Satterfield? Only a few years later, on February 2, 2018, Murdaugh's longtime nanny and housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield, suffered a life-threatening head injury when she fell down the steps of the Murdaugh's home. She died on February 26th, and it was reported that the death was from a trip and fall accident, but a coroner was never called, and there was no autopsy. The death certificate stated that she died from natural causes. But they say Alex was acting off during this time. He claimed to hear her say that she tripped on a dog, despite her claims that she had no idea what made her fall. According to multiple indictments, Alex Murdaugh and accomplices conspired to steal the Satterfield's $4.3 million insurance policy settlement. The money went straight to Alex's account, but these Satterfields were unaware of the settlement. On September 15, 2021, authorities announced they were opening a criminal investigation into the Satterfields' 2018 death. In June of 2022, authorities received permission to exhume Satterfield's body in order to continue the investigation into her death. And then there was the boat accident when Paul Murdaugh, then 19, was charged with 3 felonies after he drunkenly crashed his boat, killing his teenage friend Mallory Beach and injuring 4 others. Paul's blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. Despite this, Paul never gave a sobriety test or went to jail. He wasn't even handcuffed. Was it special treatment? Some believe it was. The Beach estate and others filed wrongful death lawsuits naming Alex and Maggie Murdaugh and their son Buster, along with the convenience store chain that sold an underage Paul alcohol using Buster's ID. It was this case that is believed to be the unraveling of Alex Murdaugh by exposing his financial dealings. Alex was under intense pressure with a hearing scheduled for him to turn over financial information. Even his wife Maggie had hired a forensic accountant to review everything. Unfortunately, Paul would never go to trial for the boating accident, and Maggie would never hear about the finances, because on July 7, 2021, 911 responded to a frantic call from Alex Murdaugh. He had found both his wife and his son's bodies on the family's 1,700-acre hunting property. They were shot to death and discovered near the family's dog kennels. Alex reported he had been with his parents at the time of the murders. Maggie was separated from Alex, living at their beach home. Police reports indicated that Alex called Maggie to meet with him at the lodge. He suggested the two of them would travel together to see his father, but Maggie was hesitant, and she suggested that they go to a public place. She even texted a friend saying Alex sounded fishy and was up to something. Yet at Alex's urging, she went to the lodge, where she found her son. This is also where their bodies were found. In July 2022, the Colleton County Grand Jury issued an indictment charging Alex Murdaugh with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime in the deaths of his wife Maggie and his son Paul. On September 3, 2021, Alex resigned from his firm after they confronted him over his years of suspected embezzlement. According to the New York Times, the amount involved was in the millions. On September 4th, Alex was allegedly shot in the head while changing his tire. He claimed a truck slowed down, shot him, and then drove away. The injury ended up being relatively minor, and he was released from the hospital soon afterwards. Fast forward, and we find out that this was also another scheme. A former client, Curtis Edward Smith, who was allegedly Alex's source for an oxycodone addiction, was arrested for having conspired with Alex to kill him in the roadside shooting so that his remaining son, Buster, would receive a $10 million insurance payout. Smith was charged with assisted suicide, aggravated assault and battery, and insurance fraud. Alex was under the mistaken belief that Buster would not receive any insurance money if he committed suicide. On February 7th, during Alex Murdaugh's murder trial, a forensic scientist testified that Murdaugh's shirt, shorts, seatbelt, and the blue rain jacket he was wearing the night they discovered the bodies all tested positive for gunshot residue. On February 8th, his longtime paralegal testified how she discovered he was stealing money from the law firm. On February 13th, a forensic pathologist goes into detail describing how they were shot and how neither victim had defensive wounds, and both were within 2 to 3 feet of the shooter. On February 15th, most of the testimony came from agents regarding an interview they had with Alex and how the statements he gave didn't add up to information they had found, and about a video that suggested he was there at the lodge the night of the shooting, and why he was wearing different clothes when they got there. He said, "I guess I changed clothes when I got back to the house." Yesterday morning, a crime scene expert again testified about how close the shooter had to be to Maggie and Paul Murdaugh before they were shot, suggesting they knew the attacker. Then yesterday afternoon, they shifted back to the roadside shooting in 21, where Alex lied to the police regarding the circumstances, and another phone interview where he admits to staging the whole thing and having Curtis Eddie Smith shoot him. Also, remember during an earlier interview, Alex had said he was at his parents' house the night of their deaths, but Shelley Smith, their caregiver, testified that he was only there for about 15 minutes. The defense expects to start their case today. Now, we've heard a lot about this trial, and let's remember that everyone in this country is innocent until proven guilty. With that in mind, Alex Murdaugh looks like he's made some serious errors in judgment that don't bode well for his case. But did he murder his wife and son in cold blood? Is Murdaugh a murderer? That's for the jury to decide. But now you know what I know. Join me next time around the water cooler for your latest update. And is there a news story that you want to know more about? Leave me a comment. It might be our next point of discussion. Until then, stay hydrated. And don't forget to like and subscribe.